Remake Rewind.
All right, you ding-dongs, this is Remake Rewind. Thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. As always, I'm Mike. With me, I've got my two co-hosts. Got Double D. How you doing, Double D?
I'm doing all right, Mike. How about yourself?
I had a nice, lazy weekend. Katrina is out of town, and I just watched TV
Oh,
for the most part.
nice to
I
hear.
slept.
You also watched a couple of movies.
I did watch a couple of movies, and I watched like 4 episodes of Walking Dead, and like 4 episodes of Legion, and like 10 episodes of Seinfeld. It was great.
That's a lot of Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's really good. It's really good. And
Yeah.
then we've got our other co-host, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hello. Hey. Hi, David.
I saw you earlier today.
I did. Saw you, too.
All
Is
right.
that English?
Nope.
That's fine. Anyway, we are here to talk about remakes and reboots. And what remake and reboot did we watch this week?
We watched Overboard and Overboard.
Overboard. Have either of you guys seen any of these movies before?
Nope.
No, not at all.
Neither? You haven't seen the original?
No.
Nope.
The original was one of my mom's favorite movies, and for the longest time, my parents didn't buy any like VHSs other than like Disney movies and movies like Shrek and everything. That it was mainly for the kids. So we only had a few VHSs that were like for them. So my dad had Braveheart, my mom had this movie, Ever After, and The Wedding Singer. So pretty much anytime my mom wanted to watch a movie, it was one of these 3 movies. So I've seen this original one with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn countless times, but watching it as an adult was a drastically different experience than watching it as a kid. And then I knew I did not think the 2018 was going to be good, but we'll discuss that later. So who's got a synopsis?
That'd be me for the 1987. This one is from Rob Hartill. Joanna hires country carpenter Dean to build a closet on her yacht. When the two don't see eye to eye, Dean is left unpaid while Joanna sets sail. The following day, Joanna is fished out of the sea after falling overboard, suffering from amnesia. Dean sees a neat way to regain the money she owes him. He tells her she's his wife. That way, Dean gets a free housekeeper and a mother for his 4 kids.
Yeah.
I should
Pretty
just
much.
talk like that on a normal basis.
You should. That sounded really good.
That's a lot of work. That's a conscious decision. See, I can't even speak normally.
No, so my father-in-law, Harry Sherwood, actually was on like broadcast for a while, and he did some voiceover stuff. So he has a really good speaking voice, and he does it everyone like when he picks up the phone, he uses his like radio voice. And it's like, hello, like it's really good. My mother-in-law has an amazing voice too. She did some voiceover stuff when she was younger as well. So I feel very self-conscious when they both listen to Ruin My Childhood sometimes, and I feel very self-conscious about it.
You should,
because
Mike.
I know they're pros. I do feel I edit this thing, and a lot of times I'm like, what the fuck did I just say?
Is that me?
Well, there's times where I'll start, like I get really excited, and I just kind of did it just there, where I'll start a sentence, and then I'll change to a different thing, and then I go back to the original, so it's like, oh, the movie was, the character did this, what? This is like, blah, 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 and I have to, like, sometimes it'll take me like a full minute and a half to edit one sentence that I spoke, because I did like 18 false starts, and I'm like, which was the most important like thread in that I wanted to keep?
It's okay. It just means you think fast.
But talk stupid.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just talk about the movie. What are some highlights for you guys?
I thought Goldie Hawn was a fantastic bitch in this movie.
She was great in this movie. What about you, Alex?
I agree. Like it's I actually didn't like it at first. It was hard for me to get into it. But like I kind of liked the relationship with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn near the end, and like I bought into it, and like I kind of teared up at the end also. Like
you little bitch. I immediately I forgot about the music, and then I immediately was like, oh yeah, like it starts off with this like super 80s synth music, but it also has like banjo in it, so it's like oh, I almost did Baby Shark.
Oh, please don't do
but it's
that.
like and then it's like it's like weird, like I can't do it, but it's like 80s synth music and banjo, because it's supposed to be like the way she treats everybody in this town, which is supposed to be in the Pacific Northwest. It's supposed to be in Oregon, I think, Oregon or Washington,
Oregon.
and she treats them though they're like they're country bumpkins from like the deep south. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not really how. Like, there are parts of Oregon and Washington that are pretty rural, but they're not like
They're not inbreds.
Yeah. But she, like you guys said, she was very, very good at that mean role at the beginning of the movie, and she wore some pretty amazing swimsuits.
Yeah, those were impressive.
Those were weird. Like she wore like a bedazzled like commander jacket.
I think it was the sunglasses that got to me more.
Yeah, she had some weird
were
ones.
so unique.
So, like I said earlier, I watched this movie all the time with my mom, and there are a lot of jokes that went right over my head. Clearly, as a kid, because there's an oral joke at the beginning of the movie when she's eating caviar. So, I wrote this down. So she's having Kurt Russell build her a closet.
Yeah,
and her butler comes in with caviar. And she makes this disgusted face as she eats it, and she says, "What is this gelatinous muck? Andrew, when I tell you to pack staples, must I specify that you are to pack good caviar and not this $1.99 fish bait? Caviar should be round and hard and of adequate size and should burst in your mouth at precisely the right moment." And both the men get super awkward about it. Oh, man.
What do you guys think of Kurt Russell in this?
I mean, I love Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it's hard not to love Kurt Russell.
He's so charming.
Yeah.
He's pretty much a dick, though.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, so the thing about this movie, and obviously the other one, is, and it's something that has a lot of things in common with obviously rom-coms and sitcoms, things that you could never do in real life are the whole, just background of the movie. He kidnaps her, commits fraud.
How does
borderline
without any identification or proof, he just
I
gets
love
her
that.
out of the hospital.
They just wanted to get rid of her so bad. They're like, yeah.
Basically a Stockholm Syndrome by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And at one point he does bang her, so it's borderline. It's I would say it's borderline rape because she's there under false pretenses. Obviously in the moment she wanted it, but that's only because she thinks that she's his wife, and clearly she's not really by the end of the movie, yes. But yeah, it's kind of fucked up. The whole movie is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, 100% fucked up.
And he tells his friend Billy about it, and his friend's I don't like this at all, but
Billy buys
whatever.
into it later too, though.
Yeah.
He does get into it late. Well, it's because he realizes that she's good for him.
Yeah.
But I forgot that she pushed him overboard. When he's so basically this whole movie starts off with their engine breaks down. So they're in town for a couple of days. So they hire Kurt Russell to build a really, really nice closet. And he builds it out of oak instead of cedar. So she refuses to pay for it. And that's why when he sees her on the news, he decides he's going to get his $600 out of basically slave labor. And he's just terrible to her. And she was a terrible person, but makes her sleep on the bed or on the couch, makes her have pots and pans on her face because of the water, makes her wear clothes that are way too big for her. Yeah, he's just a dickhead.
Having her get beer and stuff, and it's just he really mistreats her, and I felt bad. I was oh, I don't really this is kind of fucked up.
Right. And the thing is we're supposed to. The only way this movie works is if you buy into the fact that she deserves it, and part of you, unfortunately, it's just kind of how society is. If there's a quote unquote bitchy woman, society automatically thinks she deserves whatever she gets. Now, granted, she is a terrible person, but she doesn't really deserve this. Nobody deserves this gaslighting. But the whole kind of thing that you have to buy into for this movie is that Kurt Russell's a good guy and that he had shit happen to him and he didn't deserve what happened to him. So this is justified. You have to really, really kind of suspend your disbelief for a little bit to get on board with this. But once you do, it's a charming movie.
Yeah. I also like some redeeming factors, he had it where he was constantly going out bowling and stuff like that, or that's how they set it up. And then it actually turns out no, he was actually doing manual labor.
Why do you lie about that though?
Because he's proud.
Yeah, but proud to his fake wife.
Well, and to his kids. So the thing is, right after he doesn't get paid, and he goes up to Billy and he goes, I really need that money. He had just moved into town, so he doesn't he even says it to her. She asks for his references, and he's like, I don't have any. I just moved to this town. So when he doesn't get paid, he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have any money coming in. Can you get me that night job? I don't know what I'm going to do until we get the money for the golf course. And that's if it happens. So their dream is to build a golf course, which is kind of crazy because they don't have an idea for it until she comes along. This whole movie takes place in a series of a couple of weeks. So it's like they were about to meet with investors and had no plans for what they were going to do. So he is kind of an idiot, realistically.
Yeah, he's not the smartest guy.
No, I mean, once again, it's Kurt Russell. He's charming. Any movie is going to get a little bit of a pass for just having him in it for me because I'm a big fan of his work. But one of the other things I really liked about this movie, and I didn't realize it until I watched this one, but so this movie was directed by Gary Marshall. And a couple weeks ago, we covered Pretty Woman on Ruin My Childhood, which is also directed by Gary Marshall. He also directed both the Princess Diaries movies. And so the guy who found her name is Annie is what this one's weird because they call her two different names. So her name was Joan when she's rich, Joanna, but they call her Annie, when she's poor. The guy who finds her, the captain of the garbage vessel, is Hector Elizondo, and he's in all 18 of Gary Marshall's movies, and I didn't realize it. Yeah, so I knew from watching Pretty Woman a couple of weeks ago that he was in that, and of course he's the main kind of guy who's teaching her how to be a princess in the Princess Diaries. And then so I was after watching this one, I googled how many movies has he worked with Gary Marshall. It's all 18, every movie that Gary Marshall did. And so there's even this quote. So I'm gonna find it in my notes real quick. So Hector Elizondo, basically what it was, I thought I copied it down, but I didn't apparently. But basically with this particular one, he had just got back to Europe because he's from Spain. So he just got back to Spain from filming another movie with Gary Marshall. And he's like, hey, I need you back in Long Beach. We're filming another movie. I got a part for you. And it was just this little captain role where he's and he says, Fuka. And they're like, you can't say that on TV. They're like, no, that's how you say a seal, a porpoise kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really weird that this guy's in 18 movies with the director. It's pretty crazy.
That is nuts. I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about relationships like this all the time with Leonardo DiCaprio working with Scorsese. They've done 6 or 7 movies together. You hear about things like that. Scorsese has worked with Robert De Niro a bunch, but 18 movies is something serious.
It's like Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider.
I mean, but even Rob Schneider's not in too many of those movies with them. He did the Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2, I guess. I think he's in the second Grown Ups as well, but he's not in any of the other movies for quite a while. I think Rob Schneider kind of alienated everybody. He's trying to buy the 49ers though.
Is he really?
Yeah, every couple of years. He tried to get obviously he's not rich enough to get the Niners on his own. He's not a billionaire, but he tried to get a bunch of people to chip in with him to buy the team from the Yorks.
That's so great.
So Rob Schneider grew up in Pacifica, which is where I lived when we were all working together. Well, I never worked with Alex, but when me, Dustin, and David were working together, I was living in Pacifica, just outside of San Francisco, and that's where Rob Schneider grew up. So he is a Niners fan.
Yeah, that's cool.
Facts.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, so this movie is just punctuated with a bunch of fucked up shit that he does to her. So he goes to the hospital to go pick her up, and she's like, I don't recognize this guy, and he could be a stranger, and I want proof. So the doctor's reluctantly technically she's right. As much as I want to get rid of her because she's a bitch kind of thing, they're all hate her. He's like, you need proof. So he's like, oh, she's got a strawberry shaped birthmark on her ass because he saw her wearing basically a thong on the yacht. And so that's enough to make her want to go
they
with
give
him.
each other like a low five. The doctor,
Yeah.
security guard, like, yeah, she's out of here.
And then he makes her, on the ride home, sit in the truck bed.
Yeah.
And then she swallows a bug. She's like, I think I ate a bug. Like, she does a weird accent.
And he's just like, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. And then he gets home and the kids are like super like bought into this automatic. They're like, oh, Mom, we missed you. Oh, I thought you would never see you again. Like, it's pretty fucked up that he gets the kids involved. I mean, obviously you have to, but it's pretty sick that the kids are like totally okay with this. And they're fighting over a porno mag while they're being introduced to their new mom. And then like the youngest kid speaks in a Pee Wee Herman accent the entire movie.
The whole movie.
The whole movie.
That was an acting choice. That was not in the script. The kid decided to do that, and the director was like, okay. Yeah, that's kind of weird. But, like, he's, like, so she obviously doesn't understand anything, what's going on, so, like, he makes her do all these chores and cook and clean, and, you know, she makes a terrible dinner, and Kurt Russell's like, as long as I don't have to cook, I don't care. But then he, like, tells her all these things, like, she used to be fat, she had a bad back, they fucked in a 7-Eleven the day that they met. Like, it's pretty fucked up. And so she, like, the first night she's going to sleep, she's like, I'm a short, fat slut.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And then
he has her sleeping on the couch where it's like leaking, the roof is leaking.
Yeah. So she's got like all these pots and pans on her, and then the piano, because it's getting dripped on, is playing. And she has this like weird dream where she's basically in her real life, like at this very luxurious party. And then there's this really awkward shot that's like 20 seconds long of just like glitter hitting her in the face and like getting in her eyes.
In her mouth.
And you can tell she's really uncomfortable. And then it's just like, she wakes up and it's Kurt Russell splashing water in her face. But that went on for a really awkward amount of time. And then, like, he sings a song about having her as a slave. So he takes the zippity-doo-dah, zippity, and then he goes, my, oh my, what a wonderful slave.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, like I said, Kurt Russell was a dick in this movie.
And, like, it flips out of nowhere. So she just decides, so she's had enough of it. Billy's over, wants another beer, and then the boys end up super gluing her hands to some plates. So she gets a hose and sprays them down. And it goes from, like, her yelling at them, spraying them, into, like, a tickle fight. And then from there on, she's, like, a loving mother to them.
Well, it's because
like
of
the teacher.
The teacher, yeah.
But, I mean, like, at that moment, even before the teacher part, she's, like, spraying them down. And then, like, she, like, runs out of the house, and they, like, chase her into the woods, and they have, like, a tickle fight. Like, it's, like, she goes from being so pissed to loving these kids, like, and having a tickle fight with them. Like,
she just embraced it. You know, she's like, this is my life now.
This is me. This is who I am.
My hands are forever glued.
But that scene with the principal at the test is great. So these kids all have poison oak, and she's trying to get them to take these placement tests, and these kids clearly don't give a shit because they're, like, dying from itching too much. And so she, like, yells at them and has them, like, sitting in a corner, and they're, like, just covered from head to toe, and she didn't even notice. So Goldie Hawn comes in and he's like, I don't think you can measure a kid's potential. These are bullshit tests, and like you can't measure intelligence this way. But I do have serious doubt about yours. And the kids are all like, man, Dad wouldn't have done that. She's tight. And so they just decide at that moment that no matter what, they're going to keep her around despite like their dad. So like they end up turning on the dad by the end of the movie because he tries to come clean, and they're like, nope, this is our mom.
Yeah, that's our mom. What are you talking about? And then that part where, what's the little kid's name, Joey?
I think so.
Gives her the macaroni necklace. That was pretty. Oh,
yeah,
that was
like
a jab in the heart.
And it's like, well, you asked her first, like, are you gonna leave us? And she goes, no, of course not. He goes, why would you say? Sometimes mommies leave, and she goes, oh, I'll never leave. And then you give her that necklace, and then it's like, yeah, that pulls on the heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, definitely did.
Stupid bastard. I guess he's not a bastard because his mom's dead, but you know. He has no business being that cute when he talks like Pee Wee Herman. And so basically what ends up happening is they're trying to build this golf course, and then she decides that they should do this based off the 7 wonders of the world. And they're like, oh yeah, that's great. and then they pitch it to these guys, like these banker guys at this like really crappy diner, and it's just drawings of like a pyramid, like
they're decent drawings, but they're definitely like childish drawings.
Yeah, they're not even like schematics of what they're gonna do, and then they end up like getting the money, and they build this golf course, and like you see inside, like they keep calling this guy a master inventor and all around handyman. And it's like you see him like building these mini golf things that are made up like really shitty things. Like these things are gonna break. Like they're not gonna last. Like on the inside of one, he had like this little wire stuff, like a spatula and like a little kid's bucket and pail as like stuff in the mechanisms. Like he makes these weird Rube Goldberg machines inside. And it's like, that shit's gonna break. You picked like the cheapest shit you could possibly use to make a mini golf course. Where the aesthetic is phenomenal. Like he makes like this working, eye moving, mouth opening Mount Rushmore and like a wind turbine kind of Taj Mahal. So he makes these like incredible things, but goes really cheap on the inside.
I also love that they made the actual miniature golf as the design that was drawn.
The cross-eyed.
I thought it was like, it's just like a concept art, but it ended up being legit like that. I was like, oh, that's great.
Because it's like just in a field. There's no sidewalk, like there's no pavement between holes. There's no like concession stand. Like it's just like a field with a bunch of random mini
and a
golf
gazebo.
Right. Like, so basically what ends up happening is like the catalyst for everything changing or starting to change is she finds a pair of her own panties in Kurt Russell's truck, and she's like, oh man, this fucker, he's cheating. I mean, she goes to confront him, and he tells her the truth, like, we're not really married. And Billy comes, he goes, oh no, those are my panties, I cheated on my girlfriend. Which is kind of a
I thought he was
going
to go a different route with that, and I think
like he's going to wear it. Like he's wearing them.
Those
That's
are
what
my
I thought it was.
He makes comments that he's like, oh, I don't wear them.
Yeah. Those are my... I cheated on Gertie. Do you hate me? I was horny. And she's like, no, I don't hate you. So, and then not too long after, it's like the next scene, like throughout the whole movie, Grant, her actual husband, is
just
he
partying.
actually
Partying
sees
it up,
her.
Yeah.
Was that?
He's like partying it up.
Yeah, he sees her at the hospital and decides he's just gonna like fucking leave her there.
Fucking dips.
And so his mother-in-law keeps calling him. He's like, oh nope, she's not available. She's like, you have like a week to bring her back or I'm cutting you off. And so he comes back and he's just like waiting in their front yard, and she walks right by and she's like, hey Grant, and then just remembers everything.
Yeah.
And leaves, and the boys are all upset with Kurt Russell for not fighting to get her back. So Billy used to be in the Coast Guard, and this is the part that I really remembered about the movie was he gets his Coast Guard buddies to like help catch up with the boat, and right as they're about to reunite, some salmon poachers come, and it's kind of fucked up. So Kurt Russell jumps out of the boat, so basically forcing the Coast Guard to deal with their personal issue versus salmon poachers. But there's this like one guy calling on the megaphone what's going on. He's like, man overboard, woman overboard, man overboard, kissing woman overboard. It's a hell of a day at sea, sir. It's just it's corny and stupid, but it was fun. Like there's a heart to it.
Yeah. Well, one part I liked about that boat scene also was when he was asking the guy to look through the binoculars. He's like, I don't know, there's a fat guy in my way.
Yeah. It was Billy. Hey, watch it. And then what's really funny, and I remember this line too, so they find out that like Kurt Russell's like, I can't believe you're gonna give all that up for me. She's like, I'm not. Like, that's my money. Like, everything's mine. And he's like, really? And they're all like excited. And then the kids like start writing a Christmas list. Or, like, how do you spell Portia? But yeah, it's kind of weird. So I'd be interested to have seen like a sequel to this movie, just because like, how good could their life really be? Like their whole like relationships are based off trust. Double D, you've been in a long-term relationship with your girlfriend, I mean, for how long?
Almost 9 years now.
Almost 9 years. Would you say that there's a foundation of trust in your relationship?
I would say so, yes.
As a married man, I would say the same with my relationship. Alex, I don't know what your romantic life is like.
Is that what it's like, guys?
It's someone you can really trust, Alex.
But I just don't think you could start a relationship with basically Stockholm Syndrome.
Kidnapping, yes.
Right.
Man.
And so like I'm just curious as to like 10 years later, like where are they? Because the thing that's weird about this is it's obviously a culture clash. Like she's used to this luxurious lifestyle. Well, now she's used to this other lifestyle. So maybe they can meet in the middle, but it's like they just opened up a golf course, so it's like they can't really leave. So like basically she's forced to be there. Now granted, like she can use her money and buy a nicer house and she can start her own, but whatever she wants to be, but her life is fundamentally different. She's two people. Like that's got to have some sort of like issue on her psyche, like this dichotomy. She's gonna turn into Two-Face.
Oh man. Joanne.
Anything else that you guys want to talk about with this one?
No, I think.
The kids.
Most of it.
The kids are like the oldest son. A couple of times is kind of pervy. He's like, she doesn't have any tits, but she has a nice ass.
Like, what did he say?
And she's like, what did he say? And then there's a point where they're at like a picnic in the park, and the oldest son goes to walk off with this like girl, and she's like, he's got himself a little girlfriend, and the brothers are like, don't knock her up, dumbass.
That was hilarious.
Like I laughed at this movie quite a bit. Like it took me like you said, Alex, it took me a little bit to get into it because it's just like this is wrong.
I had
like,
less of a moral dilemma. I was into it pretty quickly.
And it's also weird because at the beginning of the movie, he's like telling her off, like just calling her a bitch and saying how terrible she is, and like the whole crew is just like laughing and applauding, and then he gets thrown overboard. Like the whole movie's pretty fucked up from beginning to end.
All of it is.
And then like it ends kind of on a sweet note. Like he goes, I just realized something. Like, what can I ever give you that you don't possibly have? And she's like, a little girl. And then
Aww.
Kate Hudson comes about.
Oh my god.
Except Kate Hudson is not actually Kurt Russell's daughter.
No. Or is she?
I mean, he raised her.
Good old Kurt Russell.
And I think that's the point of this movie, is that you don't have to be blood to be a parent.
Dean Prophet.
All right. You guys ready to actually, do I have any facts about this? I have a couple facts. Some of them already said. The Pee-wee voice.
I really only care about one thing, Mike.
What's that?
Did they really glue the plates to her hands?
Yes. John Candy was supposed to be Billy, but he turned it down because he was doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Well,
which is
Mike Haggerty did
classic.
Yeah. No, I like Mike Haggerty. This was the third and last movie that Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn worked on together.
Third and last.
Third and last. And Kurt Russell says people come up to him all the time and say that this movie is one of the ones they have on their boats. This one and Captain Ron. People just have every time they see Kurt Russell, they tell him they have these two boat movies that he did. So those are my facts about this movie. All right, let's move on to the 2018 Anna Farris one.
This is from Anonymous. A spoiled wealthy.
Anonymous?
Anonymous.
That's his name.
Ba-da, ba-da-da. A spoiled wealthy yacht owner is thrown overboard and becomes the target of revenge from his mistreated employee. And that's it.
That's it? Okay, straight to the point. So, this one, a couple things immediately took me out. The music is really bad in this movie. Like, especially bad. And like honestly, the acting was pretty terrible in this movie. And I went into this expecting to hate it. And I hated probably the first half of this movie. But I really kind of liked it towards the middle of the movie. Like, I felt like this one's a little bit longer than the original one, but I felt like this one was a little bit more organic. How Leo, who's basically, this one's a gender-swapped version of the original, so all the boys are girls and whatnot. And, like, literally everything, even going to, like, the best friends, like, every role is gender-swapped. But the way he ultimately kind of gets into being a father, I think, is a little bit more organic, and I think they actually developed that a little bit more. Like, the original one had a few scenes with Goldie Hawn, but I think that most of it kind of evolved around Kurt Russell's character, where this one, I think, actually had a pretty good 50-50 split of who got screen time, and that's because the actor who played Leo is, like, a huge, huge actor in, like, South America. And I was actually impressed with how much of this movie was in Spanish. I was surprised.
Yeah, I actually watched the version where they didn't translate the Spanish. So
they didn't have subtitles on it?
No subtitles at all. So
well, you speak Spanish.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh shit, now I have to think about this.
But I was surprised, like, there was, like, a couple of scenes that were, 5 to 10 minutes long in Spanish.
In Spanish, yeah.
Which
I was watching it with Amy, and she was, like, pissed about it. I had to, like, pause it. Weird.
Where did you watch it that didn't have subtitles?
Alex gave me a copy of it.
I was watching it. I was like, oh, come on. I kept waiting.
To watch it Amazon, so it came with subtitles.
And we didn't realize the guys in the yacht were what language were they speaking?
They were speaking some sort of Nordic language. I can't remember where they said they were from. If there was like Iceland or Denmark or where, but they were like Nordic of some kind.
Like, that sounds like Danish or something.
The thing that's weird about this movie is they develop a lot. They develop a lot more stuff. Double D, you like to say things are like unabridged versions of the original ones. Like, I kind of feel like this was slightly unabridged. Like, it goes into a little bit more detail on her life, how she just moved back into this town where her mom lives. She's trying to be a nurse. Like, she's gotten divorced. She's about to be evicted. She's trying to get another job. So she's already has 2 jobs, one cleaning carpets, one as a pizza delivery person. And so she shows up to clean this guy's yacht, and it's weird. Like, somehow she actually knows, her best friend, played by Eva Longoria, actually knows this guy somehow.
Because he's like a Mexican billionaire.
Right. But the thing is, she's filming, so there's a point where Anna Farris' character is filming his yacht.
Oh, yeah, and he says, like, hi, Teresa.
He says, hi, Teresa, I think is what Eva Longoria's character's name is. Like, he says hi to her, and I don't know if maybe he just overheard Anna Farris talking to her and said the name.
Oh my God, Teresa, you have to see this bathroom.
Yeah. And then he's like, she's kind of hot, and except for her hair, and then he says something about her face, and he just, like, breaks her down as an individual. And then he's like, okay, go clean. And so he goes to, like, bang some people in his jacuzzi. And then he comes back and asks her to bring fruit. And she refuses. She's like, I'm here to clean carpets. And then he fires her and then throws all her shit off the boat after, like, basically forcing her to either jump off or ride with her to San Francisco. And she's like, I'll stay with you till San Francisco until you pay me. And that's when he, like, throws her overboard. And then he falls overboard looking for some dong bags.
Dong bags, aka
condoms. Dong bags. I learned that from Hot Rod.
Dancing, like,
he was so happy he found those dong bags.
Well, this one's a little bit different because it's like, I think it would have been a better movie. I'm gonna rewrite a scene right now, but basically what ends up happening, he falls off the edge and he's actually, like, holding onto the edge, and you see his feet dangling in front of his, like, sister's like, window. And I think it would have been better if she saw him and ignored it, which is not what happened.
I thought that was like the girl he was trying to
it was a girlfriend.
Yeah.
No, it was his sister. It was both. But his sister. So basically,
oh, that's weird.
What happens in this movie is... What was that?
Incest joke.
God damn it. I'll hear it in post. But basically what ends up, same thing, is the engines break down, so they decide to shampoo the carpets. And what's different about this one is we get a little bit more backstory on his side, like where the money comes from. So his dad owns a construction supply company, and he's dying, and he's gonna give the company to him, who's never worked a day in his life. So his sister's very upset because she's been working for the company and she wants it, so she goes to be like, hey, you need to go see Dad, he's gonna die and he's gonna give you the company and you need to give it to me. And he's like, no, I want the company, I'll be the pretty face, I'll still let you do the work. So same thing, like, instead of, like, the husband not picking her up, in this one, she goes to the hospital and decides, oh, wait, I could just say he died. So she actually, like, fakes his death. Yeah. Like, goes to a barbecue place and grabs, like, charcoal and has that pretend to be him.
I love when he brings it to the dad. He's like, why does my son smell like carne asada?
Why does he smell like meat? I guess that's how we all smell at the end. And then... like, this one's a little bit more fucked up, and it makes a little bit more sense. Like, Anna Farris has somebody make, like, a wedding certificate, a passport, a driver's license for this guy, and she goes, and he immediately is like, I don't recognize her, there's no way. And the same thing, the doctor's like, we really wish you can go, but you need to show proof. And it's like, she shows them all these documents.
Yeah, it's like the opposite. It's like she showed documents, and then the tattoo is what did it.
Yeah, so he has a Speedy Gonzalez tattoo on a heart and everything like that, and she once again saw that because he was walking around naked on his yacht. But that's what convinces him, and like, the thing that's weird about this movie is the stuff that she has him do are a little bit like stranger. So she makes him sleep out in a shed, and says that he used to be fat as well, and you know he is an alcoholic, so she won't have sex with him until he's been sober for 30 days because that's what caused this to happen, was his alcoholism. And then he goes and gets a job at a construction company, and you know, obviously he's going to struggle with that, but he kind of like takes it all in stride. And even though he kind of complains, he's like constant, this is my life and I need to be a little bit more positive. And you know, the first thing he does is he realizes he wants better food, and so he starts cooking better food. Like he learns how to cook just by getting different seasonings, and you know, already improves their lives. And then he notices that the youngest doesn't know how to ride a bike, and he teaches how to ride a bike. And then he wants to help Anna Farris become a nurse, so he offers to actually pick up shifts as the delivery driver so she can do that. So he actually becomes like a really sweet guy, and it's gradual. Like he's just like, this is my life and I need to embrace it, and he just starts doing it. And like he only really complains about it like once or twice. Like he complains once to her, and then he complains once to his in the construction job when they're on lunch. He complains to his like crew, and the crew's like, be a man, suck it up, and like do it kind of thing. And he does. And he gets into football, and he gets into like involved in the girls' lives. Like he's like, you're being, what's weird about this one versus the other one is the other one, Kurt Russell did not discipline the kids at all, and she had to. And this one, she's like overly strict, and he's like, come on, lighten up. And then he gets all worried because the girl goes to like hang out with this guy at the swimming pool, and then he's like, I forbid it. She's like, he's gay, and he's like, oh, okay, kind of thing. But it's interesting how like I feel like this one's even more fucked up than the original one. But the middle part I really like. Like I actually felt like he was really sweet with the girls and like wanted to do right. And like in this one, like Anna Farris wouldn't let him actually really be a parent, and he gets really upset. There's a point where he's like, he goes, you knew what she was like when you were 13. He's like, I don't remember, but you remember what it was like when you're 13. You're being too tough. And you know, she says that these kids aren't his, that they were sperm donor kids because he's impotent, not impotent but sterile. And like it comes back like the thing that's different about this one is like the whole cheating thing is because she had condoms, because that's the only thing he had on him when he drowned was condoms. Dong bags. He opens up the glove box, finds them, and he goes, this is like the day after they sleep together. So they have like a great night, same kind of thing. He's going to go tell her that, or she's going to tell him that the whole thing's a sham, but she chickens out and says it's their anniversary. And so they bang, and then the next morning he finds it. She's like, why would you need condoms if your husband's sterile? Which means they raw dogged it when they fucked.
Yep.
She basically raw dogged a guy that she knows is like a dirty pervert. Now, granted, he wears condoms, but still, she boned. He's a billionaire. She was I know what she was trying to do.
So many crimes.
Right, but he leaves. Eventually, too, the sister comes and picks him up with the father, and they have this like on the yacht. They have this whole falling out where they realize that the sister left him, and you know, basically the same thing happens. They go out with a boat, the family, Anna Farris and the kids, and they go and catch him. But there's like a little bit of a twist wherein they both jump in the water.
I hated that. The twist.
The scene in the water?
Yeah.
I loved it.
I liked one aspect of it. It was different, but like he jumps out and the dad's like, I'm going to cut you off. And he's like, it's fine. He goes, I'm shutting you out. Like, you won't get anything. He's like, I don't care. And he's like, you'll be penniless. And he goes, wait, what? Really penniless? You're not going to leave me with anything? He's like, no. And he starts negotiating. And Anna Faris is like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm negotiating. And he's like, and he gives all these things like a generous stipend, a monthly allowance. How about you just let me keep the Swiss accounts? And he's like, no, nothing. And he's like, I have to think about this. And then not Anna Farris, Eva Longoria's husband is like, after he is like, no, I'm gonna stick with her. And he goes, take a few minutes to think about it. It's a lot that you're giving up. Like, nobody's going to begrudge you if you take your time to think about it.
He was great. I love Buddy in the movie. The actor
he was
from
really funny.
Last Man on Earth. He was great. Every scene he was in, I loved it. Where he's like, oh, you got to take care of that shirt, bro. Respect him.
Well, it's because it was his jersey.
Yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the wrong team, but yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. But basically, this one, like, they give him a lot more to do. Now, granted, this is because he's a huge star in a different market, and that's what they were trying to bank on, was having this be like a multinational movie. I know it did not do well in theaters.
Honestly, I didn't even know this existed until... So, I remember seeing a commercial for it only because I laughed at that part where the guy was like, no hablo inglés. I remember, I saw that in a commercial and laughed at it. That's the only thing I remember about this.
The other thing that's funny about this movie is the whole time they're making fun of this, like, chef guy for watching telenovelas, and he's like, this stuff is interesting. Like, this stuff could actually happen, and at the end of the movie, he's like, you see, this stuff actually happens. You see why I like telenovelas?
I love that the guy watches novellas. I was like, oh, yeah, it's really pretty accurate.
Yeah. There was another weird scene. So there's three siblings in the rich family. So there's obviously Leo, who's one of the main characters, and then his sister, who's more ambitious. But there's a younger sister who went to school to be a musician, who is upset that everyone thinks he's dead with no real proof. Like, the sister didn't bring back a death certificate. So she starts calling around because she was told that he got eaten by a shark. And so she calls around and finally gets this, like, sheriff. And the sheriff's name tag said Brody, which is the name of the sheriff in Jaws. And he's like, there hasn't been a shark death in years, and if anybody would know, I would know. And you're thinking, oh, just because I'm thinking it's just the joke because of the Brody. And then it pans out or zooms out, and he's missing an arm. It's stupid. But, like, overall, like, the acting in this movie was terrible. I've never really been a big fan of Anna Farris.
Me neither.
And I have friends that, like, I went to high school with who, like, were in love with her, like, who still think she's, like, one of the most attractive people out there, and it's like their number one celebrity. And, like, I'm not gonna talk about looks, but I don't get it. I think she's really overrated.
I agree.
And I listened to this. So I listened to How Did This Get Made, and she guest starred on an episode of that, and God, she was awful. And it was right around the time she was getting divorced from Chris Pratt, so, like, she was going through a rough time. And this movie, same thing, the promotional stuff. Like, I feel bad for her having like a public, divorce with one of the biggest movie stars in the world now. But, like, I didn't care about her in this movie.
No, me neither. I mean, it could be that personal bias that we don't like her, but I don't know. I think just because she's been in, I think if I think about it, it's because she started with Scary Movie for me, and that just lowered my standards of her forever.
Well, and, like, that's all she did for long. So she did the first 4 or 5 Scary Movies, and then before she got out of it, I never saw The House Bunny. And, like, I can't really think of anything else that I've seen her in. Like, I think she was in Waiting.
She's not, like, she did the voice for Claudia with a Chance of Meatballs. And I thought that was...
That's right. She was
great.
The reporter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never, like, I don't think she's bad. I just don't think she's good. And a lot of people, I was listening to some podcasts, and they were saying that they don't think it's fair that Kristen Wiig gets as many roles, and, like, a lot of the roles that Kristen Wiig has gotten over the last 10 years could have easily gone to Anna Farris. And I think Kristen Wiig is way better than Anna Farris. Although I don't think Kristen Wiig is that great. I think she's great in certain movies, but overall, okay. Like, what do you guys think? Was there a reason to remake the original?
I mean, like you said, that I like to say, it was an unabridged version, but I don't think it needed to happen.
I don't think it added, like, I do think it lengthened it a little bit and like dug a little deeper, but I don't think it really added anything.
No, honestly, I thought the original was funnier. Like this one, when I laughed a lot louder, but it was fewer and further between.
Right, it was few and far between. Like I didn't. The problem was this one. The kids were super serious, where the kids in the original one were really funny.
Yeah.
Like just their interactions with each other. And Goldie Hawn, and obviously Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have amazing chemistry. Like they've been together for 40 years. I just didn't really see any chemistry between the two leads in this movie.
It definitely is, because like it's just like the acting is what holds it back, and some like story choices. Like you get going and like you get into it, and then like I don't know, for me, like there's like moments in the scenes like that one where like he's like negotiating, it just stops. I'm like, wait, it would have been funnier if he like went to her, kissed her, and then he like thought about it or something like that. He's like, wait, maybe I should, but like it just ruined that moment for me.
I actually liked that moment. I thought it was good, in line with his character, because it's new for him, and he really is giving up a lot. And we didn't even talk about the end. So at the very end of the movie, it goes to several months later, and they're living their life how they've been living it. And the sister sends their butler, who's the brother from the mummy,
John.
Yep. I don't know his name, but yeah, he comes and he's like, hey, do you want to hire a nanny? And they're like, we can't afford that. He goes, actually, you can. Your sister realized that the yacht was in your name, and if you sell it, you can afford me. And they're like, he goes, that would be worth $60 million or $60 million. And then Anna Farris goes, wait, is that in pesos? And he goes, no, dollars. Even if it was 60 million pesos, that's still like $6 million, which is a life-changing amount of money. Like, I thought that was like kind of like fucked up to be like,
peso?
Wait, peso, and how granted it's a huge difference, a factor of 10 typically, but still $6 million when you've been living in squalor is like a life-changing amount of money.
That was actually a nice house. Like, this was supposed to be like a poverty-ridden house. Like, I would live there for sure. Like,
yeah.
Well, he fixed it though. He got the construction crew to like fix it up, and he unpacked it and cleaned it. But like, it wasn't great. Like, it was leaking as well.
It's better than the Kurt Russell shack.
Oh yeah, the Kurt Russell one was like dilapidated. The only like there, I when they first announced this movie, I was hoping that there would be like just a cameo from Kurt Russell or Goldie Hawn, because Goldie Hawn just got back into acting like last year.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe she might show up in it. I didn't think Kurt Russell would.
I only thought she could have played Grace, the
mother.
Yeah, the mother. Which also
Right.
I hated that character
Right. Yeah. That was it wasn't really needed
at all.
Like they could have cut that out completely, and because it didn't add anything.
It
to
could
the
have
story.
been one phone call.
Right.
Like it didn't even need her.
There was a
but the only
callback to the original. They're like,
that's what I was gonna put. Like when they're in the hospital, like this has only happened once in like 1982 or 1987. When was this? 1982 or 87?
87.
87. Yeah, this happened once in the 80s. This really attractive blonde woman. I'm gonna say the same thing. I don't really feel this was needed. Like, Overboard was a good movie. I don't know if it was a cultural phenomenon enough that like people are gonna immediately go, "Oh, this is something I need to see." Like, the people who watched this movie were like my mom. Like, who was this movie for?
That's a good question. Actually, you're talking about the remake.
Yeah, like who is this movie for? Like, who was the target audience?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, you're looking for the old fans, of course, but I don't know that you are targeting a specific audience.
This movie came out in the summer. Like, this isn't a movie that you put in the summer and hope people are going to go see when you've got, like, Infinity War. Anywhere between Black Panther and Infinity War, a movie like this wasn't going to make any money.
Maybe they were trying to put it out as a date movie.
Maybe. And I think they were banking way too much on the guy who's from How to Be a Latin Lover, which was a big movie. I don't know. Like, that's the weird trend. I don't want to say it's a weird trend because I think Hollywood should be doing this and trying to make movies that work for, more than just white people. So, like, Marvel started doing, like, things where, like, Iron Man 3, there's a scene that takes place in China that's only in the Chinese version of the movie. And then The Meg, which I don't know if you guys saw The Meg.
Nope.
With Jason Statham. That movie was a joint Chinese-American venture, and most of the movie takes place near China, and there are scenes where they speak Chinese for an extended period of time. This movie was also funded by a Mexican production company as well, so they're trying to start making movies and market movies that are going to do well, not just here, but other places. So maybe they thought this movie would do well in Mexico or with like Latin American people. I don't know.
Multicultural kind of thing.
Right, because I think with like the Fast and the Furious and Black Panther, they're realizing you can have an ethnically diverse cast and you're going to get a lot more butts in the seats by having people that, other people besides white people can relate to. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but this movie was in theaters for like a month and is already on Blu-ray. And it came out it was on Blu-ray like 2 months after it came out.
Oh wow,
super quick. So, Alex, what about you? What do you feel? What's your verdict?
Yeah, there are some aspects I like about it. Some didn't. I didn't. I don't know. It's like it's weird because it has the check boxes of what you would want in a remake, I guess. It's gender reverse, so it's different, and they're adding a Hispanic culture to it, so it's a little different. But it's the acting that I felt really hindered it. It's not. It's the guy's English acting performance is really rough. I'm sure in the Spanish speaking scenes he's fantastic in, but. And Anna Farris also.
I think just everything was over the top. I think he had to match her style because she just yells and shouts everything and just does the bug eye thing that she does, and it works for a scary movie. And I'm sure I haven't seen her sitcom Moms, but I've heard she's actually that show's great. My wife has worked on it a couple of times. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of her. I think I'm actually impressed with how much I liked the movie because going in, I thought it was gonna be terrible, and I texted you guys. Right when I within the first 20 minutes of watching, I'm like, this is terrible. But I ended up really enjoying the middle part of the movie because the middle part of the movie was really just the Leo character embracing his life and becoming a good person. Where Anna Farris was kind of sidelined for a little bit. You just really only saw her hitting the books for a little bit. And I actually really liked the parts with him. I'm surprised at how much I liked him because I thought he was awful at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I think that was a difference that I liked the original more, too. You saw Kurt Russell developing as a character in that one as well, whereas in this, Anna Farris was just the same character throughout.
Right, but I think the difference is with Kurt Russell, he is a widower. He wasn't the person, the difference is he didn't have all his stuff, together, where Anna Farris, has her shit together for the most part. She is working the 3 jobs. She's in school trying to get a better career, and everything around her goes to hell. This guy fucks her over, her mom fucks her over. That was her babysitter, so that way she can actually focus on school, kind of thing. So it's different because I feel she doesn't have as many flaws as Kurt Russell did.
Yeah,
where her only real flaw was that she wouldn't let her oldest daughter go to the pool when she's supposed to be babysitting her kids when there's a stranger in the house. Now, granted, she put that stranger in the house, but, she's kind of right to not leave her kids with this strange man.
This pervert.
Who doesn't... Right.
What's a pervert? It's a man and a van and a...
Kate, your daughter needs you. And the same thing, he has the whole, are you going to leave kind of thing, and of course I'm not going to leave. And I felt that, was a little bit more real. He was just, he seemed to really love the family, and it seemed like a more organic way of becoming, a part of the family.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done talking about these movies if you guys are done.
Yeah.
So I think the overall verdict was a unanimous no.
Yeah, it didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to Remake Rewind. You can check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram as well, Facebook. We are also on YouTube, so check it out. That's all in the link below. And yeah, thanks for listening. Also check out our other podcast, Ruin My Childhood. And we're going to try to do 4 Halloween episodes like we did last year. So I know for a fact we're going to do Evil Dead. So that's something to look forward to. We're probably going to do Halloween, and we haven't decided on our last 2 movies. But we're going to try to do 4. I know Alex is going on vacation. I've got a vacation coming up. So we're going to do our best to get 4 episodes out. But it might only be 3, maybe. I don't know. We'll do our best. But thanks for listening, guys.
Later, dudes.
See ya.
Bye.